possible, please close the curtains there.
If it's possible to close this.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a little bit better.
Okay. Also, you can sit there, maybe.
I was about to say I'm sorry for the intimacy of this place. It's like having a student apartment and inviting all of your friends for your birthday. But we now will kind of turn our faces in this direction, where Jekaterina from Lithuania will respond a little bit to what she's heard, but also give us some of the background to the Baltic Audience Links Federation. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. And first of all, I want to say that the research itself, any research itself, is a catalyst of changes. So during making the interviews of your big research, I think that you brought new perspectives to the actors. So that's important to keep in mind when we start running studies, that we start implementing new language of description for these organizations we study as well. But it's also challenging because in your presentation you marked that the main addressee was as well European Union organizations and fundings and institutions, so macro level, also you as researchers, and we as practitioners. But actually all of us are using different languages of description of what we are doing. And Baltic Audience Link is a project which aims to map practices of involvement of people into the cultural processes which are local ones in the Baltic, in 3 Baltic countries. And later on we understood, yes, it's quite flexible. So it's Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia, and we also suppose that maybe Estonia will join the framework. And the idea is to bring together and to start building a database, because when we start speaking about the Baltic identity, the identity of Baltic region, suddenly it appears that are there some open database all of us are using in our daily activities for our project? Can we actually do we have these databases of the organizations like us to include them into our activities? Do we have common database for the region? And it appears that it's one of the challenges actually to build it. It exists in a very fragmented way. So one of the goals of the research is to bring these practitioners together from the Baltic and to merge existing networks, the actors of which are using participatory approach in community development, and also to start to analyze the trends and the tools, the methods which are used by these organizations. But our approach is well illustrated, I think, by this figure of a little boy. Unfortunately, you can't see it very clearly, but of course, those of you who are from Stockholm, this figure is very well known for you. It's little boy who looks at the moon. They call it so, and it's well known as the smallest monument in Sweden, public monument in Sweden, and it's put in public space. So in some place of the city you can find very tiny sculpture. But what is interesting about it, it was installed there in 1967, and the sculpture is Lise Eriksson. But what is interesting about this photo also is that people are bringing there all kind of things. You know, the boy is very small. It's like on the ground, sitting on the ground. It's like that level, that height. And each time you come in there, you see the change. You can meet no people there, but you will see some candies, apples, as on this photo. Also a hat, which is knitted by some persons. And what is interesting about this hat, it was with Estonian flag actually on that. Maybe you can see some fragments of it. So it's all about how this interconnection in public space start emerging. So we are focusing in our research and in our initiative, we are focusing on the very micro level of these interconnections in public space. And also our starting point is that social practices are spatial practices. So the audience is spatially embedded. You already stressed the importance of the space, and that the reorganization of the space also matters. But we go further and we start working with the people who are already embedded in the place. For example, they are leaders of some neighborhoods. They're presented there. It's their space. It's not abstract people coming from different places, but you are going there and start working with them. So 3 starting points upon which we are building our methodology is the idea by Michel Desartaux, Lefebvre, and Auger, anthropologists, that social practices are spatial practices. So observing the space and the changes in the space, you can say what kind of social relations take place in the space. Also vice versa, you can switch something in the space, change something in the space, and you will evoke changes in social interactions which happen in the space. The second point is micro-practices. The importance of understanding that social relations are not pre-existing, and it's not pre-classified social relations, but as in case with this little boy, when you come there, you see candies, hats, apples, and so on. It doesn't matter what kind of this micro-relation, it goes beyond and before all the stratification comes. It's relation between people, no matter what classes, age groups, and so on they present. So that's how the contact happen, and it's very dear for us to focus on. So, and the third thing is the idea by Richard Sennett that cooperation itself is a craft. That he says in his recent book, which is called Togetherness, is that we live in the skilled modern society. We forgot how to do things together. And he reminds and remembers the workshops, traditional workshops, where people coming together in evenings make things together. For example, they are knitting together, knit some things. And they share some stories, and in that way they bring and build their togetherness. So it's physical work which happens together somewhere, bring these relationships. And again, in this case, it's not that important what group each of the participants presents. It again goes beyond this identity, pre-constructed identity. So one of the, again, we can't see the photo, but one of the illustrations for the idea that social practices are spatial practices is the everyday situation by Pisa Tower, when you can see a lot of people photographing themselves there. So it's a social practice which is embedded in public space, and now it becomes different because people are using their photo sticks. And the other illustration can be, for example, the structure of the fountain. It's in Vilnius, which each day propose children somehow to run around. There is spatial structure, and it itself generates some rules and some games. They happen spontaneously. It takes place spontaneously in that place. That means that really by adjusting, even on micro level, public spaces, we can set new type of spatial relations. And also what is important to remember is that we use our body as a tool. That for no matter what profession we represent, but we forget that our main tool of communication is our body. We approach each other bodily, and this contact happen in public space again on very micro level. That's why some of geographers nowadays they speak about light touch intimacy in public space. Just a glance on the other person. For example, or a glove which was taken from the floor and put somewhere on the window. You go through the street and you see this glove, and you understand that somebody takes care of some other person proposing to take this glove. So public space is full of here, and this attention, micro-attention to each other. So it's a positive thing we start from. Of course, you will learn much more about these approaches taking part in the presentations tomorrow, which will take part in the second part of the program, which will focus on the Baltic practitioners' experience, and there will be a lot of cases presented there, so we can learn more about how this live sociality is built on public spaces. There will be a series of cases. But what is also important here is that in the language of description of these kind of practices, those people who are working with the neighborhoods and with little communities, we usually do not, we and they do not use audience as a term. We mostly use the term people. We have people, we bring people together. It's very neutral. And also we speak a lot about cooperation and togetherness. Cooperation, how we cooperate. So our main question is not how we build the audience, but it is how we cooperate with people. No, we just put different accents. It's because we work on the micro level, and for us it's important to activate the people of the localities. So the main question for us, for the research, is how these ecosystems are built, because then we understand that the researchers themselves and the actors themselves, organizations and artists and those people of the neighborhood, all of them are building ecosystem. And for this ecosystem, for the sustainability of this ecosystem, we need also governmental people and also municipal people also to be included. So that's actually, when you start mapping the challenges these organizations and actors perceive in their work, one of the main challenges is actually how to scale up. You start some small activity, it starts working, but how to go to the governmental level and to connect, and how to expand the ecosystem. So that's one of the biggest challenge for these practitioners. And also seeking to expand this Baltic network of this kind of organizations. We also, what we seek to do is to expand and merge these already existing small ecosystems, to bring them together, which is also challenging because you see, when we do our mobilities and we go to events, usually it's experts and actors who go to the events, but what about our communities which stay in the neighborhood? Maybe we need also to think about some new formats of bringing these people from the community from one place to another, and I already learned being here yesterday that some of people presented here already developed this kind of project, bringing exactly people from the neighborhood to other localities, to other ecosystems. So in this way, these local ecosystems expand and gain their Baltic dimension. Okay, so the main question of the research is how we connect, and the challenges and needs which the actors, the organizations we map the activities of speak about is that there is the main challenge for the organizations is the sustainable development because of two reasons. One reason is that NGOs are usually small, and the budget of these organizations is usually project-based. It's not governmentally based, it's not municipally. These organizations are not hired by municipalities. We keep in mind Latvia, Lithuania, and also Poland. But it works from project to project. So that's why these organizations start implementing very cheap solutions which can be sustainable. That's why we scale down in our activities to keep them going. And that's why it's very important for us to perceive how people of the neighborhood can invest and develop themselves all these solutions. So that's actually from this challenge, new innovation for innovative thinking is coming. And another challenge which usually arises is that there is undeveloped interconnection between strategic and tactical level. So being here, it's really for us, it's like a paradise. You know, when we are listening to governmental guys and from municipal guys speaking about their strategic vision of how cultural activities should be developed. So it's really something we struggle for in our countries, in Latvia, Lithuania, and also in Poland, but on small extent, I think, because already there are some cases of dialect successful ones. Okay, one more thing is actually the lack of networking, especially in Lithuania and Latvia. We experience that there are not so many actors who understand that networking and building the local networks is, among these organizations which are active in the field, is one of the tasks. We have here Jonas Buchel from Riga Urban Institute, and he is one of few actors actually in a region who understand and keep this goal as one of the main goals for his activity, to bring these organizations together and to create network. Also we have Kaspars from Riga, who also is building network of, as far as I understood, database and network of cultural actors in Latvia, but also thinks about expanding to Estonia, Lithuania, and maybe further. So we have this starting already developed ideas of importance of building this network, but it's in the process. And what we tried to do some years ago together with Belarusian colleagues, which could be also implemented into these activities and research, is the idea of mapping. But mapping in literally sense, you know. We tried to collect the profiles of organizations active in urban development, including local communities in Belarus and Lithuania. And then we understood that the mapping itself is an analytical tool, of course, but it becomes a tool when the task is actually to draw the interconnection between these organizations. You know, because usually when we speak about mapping, it ends up with the list of organizations and maybe some analytical summaries. But when you try to visualize it, you see that there are a lot of challenges actually to understand how organizations and their activities are connected. So one of the ways to connect these points, these activities in the region, is the challenges actually which these organizations want to solve or say that they are solving. For example, on this map, when you explore it, you can find many profiles of initiatives done in Lithuania and in Belarus. And one of the questions which was addressed to practitioners, two of them we're having here, it's Vitat and Ed, was key urban issues. What are key urban issues you want to solve with your activity? And when each organization or each actor put down these issues or these problems, then you can actually connect them. Not only because sometimes the form of activity can be very similar, but actually the issues which are on the focus of these organizations are different, completely different. And the language of the description of these activities also differs. So it's mainly problems which connect, not successful cases, because they can look like successful cases, but in a kitchen is completely different. So that's one of the challenges to do, because after collecting all this information about initiatives from organizations, and of course each organization wants to present as successful case as possible, but there is a great interest to study these unsuccessful unsuccessful cases. So I also would remind to previous speakers to speak more about this constructive failure you mentioned, because it's really important. And at this moment, what we have done, we have spread the call for organizations in the files describing in their towns, in their cities. So our next meeting and our next discussion of this development of this study will be, I think, in Vilnius in April, in the beginning of April. So I really hope we will spread the information, and we will hope that we will meet there, and we can present then further ideas, and even not ideas but findings, and also invite you to explore some activities which are happening in Vilnius. And here I will just finish. Yeah. Next one. Okay, so thank you, and here I will just stop.
We take this opportunity, we just have a couple of minutes. Does anyone have any questions to Jekaterina about this, or any further comments? I mean, basically, this connection between a study done on a European level and a study done on a macro-regional level in Baltic Sea can be quite good complementary actions to one another. And I just want to repeat what Alessandro and Christina said earlier. Of course, we are not doing these studies in order to come up with some kind of toolbox, a quick fix. You take your box and you go out to your audience and you start doing A, B, C, D, and at the end you have a bunch of engaged people and the world has changed. We all know that each one of us, when we begin a project of any kind, whether it's local, transnational, touring, or related, we know that we have to adapt to that specific situation. Who are those people? Who do we want to talk to, as Alessandro pointed out? Who are we? Who are those who we want to share with? Once we define that, the tools will be very different. Sometimes we have to go and knock on doors. Sometimes we have to invite them in their own language. Sometimes we have to take the work to them in their neighborhood instead of the other way around, asking them to come to us. And one of these things.
It was refreshing to hear the presentation of Jekaterina, because it is more focused on the demand side, whereas the Fitzcarraldo research was nomenclatured a little bit, it seemed to me, on the supply side. What can you do on the supply side, on the armature that's existing, to change the armature so that it can interact with the
also to add about these databases, it's always the question, we have a lot of data online actually, but where are the habits of using it? How we develop the habits of using it? That's the most important thing, because we have, by habit, we use several sites, on daily basis, but how much we use other information. So that's then the question of these formats, of some events which brings together the people from these databases, this organization from these databases emerge, and that's why these kind of events are so important, to bring several networks at once, because after that you start, exploring, for example, from our part, the corners network much more intensely, because you met the people, and then you understand the information in different ways than before. So these periodical meetings of networks, it's one of the basic needs. We have to attach to these developed databases, or databases which are under construction at this moment.
Anyone else? The quote that I mentioned before about failure, and forget this, that we tried before and it failed before, because that's the history of 20,000 years of human history. Samuel Beckett said, try again, fail better. That's Samuel Beckett. That's his idea of what the role of the artist is. It seems to me that that might be the role of the arts, and also all we who are arts producers, arts facilitators, and interveners. I don't think that a proof of success is that we have massively well-functioning networks with secretariats in different places. It's this kind of symbiotic knowledge that we pick up from experiences like this from each other. We just simply have to be more mobile, visit each other more often, and those who are next to us. I am now, as some of you might know, working in Romania. I have been named Artistic Director of Timișoara 2021, which is the European capital of Poland in the year 2021. And one of the first things I understood is the two countries that joined the EU 10 years ago, Romania and Bulgaria, who are bordering countries, joined the EU at the same time, are the two poorest countries in the European Union today. We're facing many of the same problems. We hardly talk to each other. Everything is focused towards Brussels, Paris, Berlin, whatever. So this idea of the macro-regional relationship is very important. Agnieszka.
Yeah, I wanted to add, okay, maybe not to Samuel Beckett, because this is really probably inappropriate, but also what Jekaterina said. Learn from failure, but also from others' failure. So let's share the knowledge, and let's share the data, and let's share the analysis, of course, with other networks, but also with other organizations in our own cities. Because if I do the audience research of my festival, and I keep it for myself and maybe for the policymaker, because I put it in my report, but it's not available to my colleagues from other organizations, that is a waste of resources. And actually, okay, we compete for maybe the same audience, but actually we can do much better if we collaborate. So, yeah, I would like us to encourage us to share whatever we learn with others, also on local level.
I want to remind us before we go into the afternoon. We'll take some lunch now. It's going to so we'll take a relaxed half an hour. We're running a little bit late, but we'll spread it out during the afternoon. I want to remind us that we are working now with a group of professionals. Yesterday, Corners had its meeting. I know the Baltic audience links also did. And we were able to talk about constructive failures because we did it together. The failures are our own. We're not threatened by one another. There's no journalist here. There's no political leader who's going to tell us, aha, you failed. Yes, click, No, I think that, as we all know, whether it's in friendships, relationships, or anything else, it's at the moment in which we dare to talk about what we wanted to do but didn't get it across yet. This is what we have to do this afternoon. Please be critical with one another. Not to hurt each other, of course, but to share, well, we really tried that really went to hell. And we wanted to meet those people, but in the end they threw stones at us. I mean, let's find out why. Because it's not that our attempt was wrong, it was the impact of the public health changed. Let's share that